don't even know where to start. But I am Paula R. Cornelius, and I'm a serial mom. And we have the privilege of raising 13 children. We've fostered many. We've kept our children's siblings. We've kept nieces and nephews and strangers and foreigners alike in our home. And I just want to talk today. I'm so excited about this, and just still it hurts so much because I want to talk about riots and trauma. You know, this has been going on for a few days now, and so I've just been before the Lord and just praying and just trying to hear His voice on what to say. Please hear this, everyone. I technically do not have a lot of influence as far as numbers, quantity, like many other people. But the reason I've delayed in coming on Facebook, coming on anything, saying anything publicly, is because the possibility of influence is too great. Please hear me. The possibility that you might influence someone else by your questions, by your commentary, is very key and serious right now. And let me say this, your lack of speaking out is very serious right now. And I understand because this is the first time I've come out publicly and said anything. Because again, the potential for influence is too great. I was thinking about the riots and thinking about everything. And I want to say this. This is in no way condoning rioting. What I seek to do, and the reason I preface this conversation with who we've raised and who we had a chance to live with, is because for greater than 30 years, we've had the opportunity to minister to take care of people, children, women, men who have been traumatized. And when I was praying about this, I just heard clearly that there was a correlation between the rioting and our children and the children that we've cared for. We were a licensed therapeutic group home for many years. And again, we've cared for traumatized children. And so I began to pray about this, and I began to think on what the Lord would tell me about this. And so the parallels are huge. So this is really going to be able to, I think, because I'm just going, wow, I think it will open the eyes on how we treat those who are rioting. Rioting comes in many, many forms. It is displayed in many, many ways. And so I am in no way condoning rioting to loot and to steal. But can I tell you something? I began to look up the definition of a riot, and it is to behave in a violent or unrestrained way of mental faculty or emotion, to function or be expressed without restraint. And I've heard a couple of people saying something about this, that, you know, everyone wants to look at the rioting, but no one wants to deal with the precipice, the thing that started the riots in the first place. And I will tell you that sitting here for a number of days, praying and thinking and just asking the Lord, what is this? He began to show me something that I believe is key. He began to show me that even before there's riot, you guys, there is trauma. Again, we're a therapeutic home. That means we have been licensed and trained to take care of those who had been pretty severely traumatized. And so I started thinking about the behaviors of those who riot. Can I tell you all something? There have been many of us, blacks, I pray whites, I pray Hispanics, I pray Asians, I pray every color, that this is not the prayer that you were traumatized, but that there was some level of disdain, of some level of trauma that occurred as we saw someone's life being taken right before our eyes. I had no words, and I don't hardly mince words at all. Again, I didn't want to say much because the potential for influence is great. And even those that I do know in a small scale, I want to make sure that I'm being proper as far as the Lord is concerned. We all have experienced trauma in that one viewing. But I really want to just look at a picture of what trauma is. Because what you all saw and what you're seeing in the Black race, in the African American community, is a result of years and years of trauma. And I'm going to say this. People can negate it if you will. I have never once tossed a black card. I have never once just said everything is black, everything is black. It's all about racism, because I am a Christian first of all. I am Christ first of all. And so my first card is not the black card. But it is also important that we not negate what y'all call the black card. Because, you guys, there's too much history right now. Too much history right now as far as black people and other people of color being killed. And so when we start looking at not just the end result, which is the acting out, which is the rioting, which is the looting, which is the anger, which is the rage, which is the people going out and they're banding together to come and try to get some resolve. This is not the result of one incident. This is a result of years of trauma. Let me share with you some of the aspects of the trauma that we've seen. We adopted, and this is no secret to many of you who know me closely, 3 children. They were 6, 7, and 8 years old. And the level of trauma, the level of harm that occurred to them in a system that was supposed to have protected them was unbelievable. Unbelievable. So let me tell you what trauma looks like. Let me tell you, I've lived in riots in my own house. Trauma looks like being yelled at over and over again, because I don't really have another say. Trauma looks like me being banged in my chest, banged in my head from children who had sustained trauma. They're riots because what did our definition say? Acting without restraint. They have rioted for years, you guys. Many of you who have had children who have been through trauma, you know adults who have been through trauma, there is no restraint. I often say they're just not careful because the boundaries have just been overrun by systems that were supposed to be intact to protect them. And so when they arrived here, you guys, we were subjected to so much hatred, so much disdain. And here we are, many people who foster and many people who adopt. I didn't understand the results of their trauma. I didn't understand until now that they were inciting a riot against the very people that God had put in their lives to make a difference. I cannot tell you, I didn't understand why we had a 2-year-old and my husband would have to sit and hold him for hours, just so he could calm down. We've had children that didn't want to be touched as a result of trauma. We've had children who you would tickle them. They didn't know what a tickle was. That's trauma. And they would grow rigid when you went tickling, because I don't know if something is going to happen to me. They ran unrestrained because of trauma, because of abuse, because of rape, because of molestation, because they saw people killed, they saw drugs, they saw all kinds of things. They saw trauma. I forgot to get tissue. They saw trauma. And as a result of the trauma, they rioted in a home that they were supposed to be safe in. And I'm going to tell you, just like you all do not understand, I get it. Because there was no level of comprehension for us. Because we didn't sustain the level of trauma that those children sustained, you guys. So no, you cannot understand why someone would tear up their own neighborhood. We could not understand why these children would break our walls and break our chairs, tear up their shoes and rip their clothes. They would destroy everything that we would give them. We didn't understand. So I understand that you don't get it. I understand that you don't get it. But I'm going somewhere with this. You know, I was in here in my house, and one of my boys, I was called a witch with a capital B for about an hour straight. This is disgusting. Don't y'all talk about me. I forgot to get tissue. Witch. Witch with a capital B. Witch. Witch. Let me go, witch. You don't love me. Witch with a capital B for an hour straight. And I had no grid for the trauma. We had children who would bang their heads against the very breasts that God gave them to lay in for safety. And so I didn't understand it at all. You talk about the looting, you talk about the stealing, you talking about ruining their own places. We would feed our children because you can't withhold food. And so what we didn't understand is why at night, when they were so fearful, you guys, when they were so fearful to go downstairs, you ready for this one, to go to a bathroom in a safe house, but they would come down the stairs in a dark home, go to the pantry and steal food that would be there. They would take food, you guys, that we were going to feed them anyway. So you talk about the nonsense of looting. How about the nonsense of trauma? We couldn't understand why they would want to cut themselves and why they would go head first into a door without restraint. Head first through glass, through mirrors. And you want to only look at the end result. I will tell you this. What I do know is that if you keep looking at the rioting and not look at the trauma that has caused the rioting, you'll miss an opportunity to understand and to be there. Trauma. Listen to the definition of trauma. We all know it. We know people who have been in trauma. We know. But just humor me for a moment and see if this makes any sense at all. Direct. This is DSM-4, American Psychiatric Association, the APA defines trauma as this: direct personal experience of an event that involves actual or threatened death or serious injury, or other threat to one's physical integrity, or the witnessing of an event that involves death, injury, threat to the physical integrity of another person, not me. If I even see it happen, I'm in now trauma. Or learning about an unexpected or violent death, serious harm or threat of death or injury experienced by a family member or those who are closely associated. The person's response to the event must involve, listen to this, intense fear, helplessness, or horror. That's the definition of trauma. And so I would submit to you all that the African American community, the Black community, and I'm not excluding anyone else. Let me digress. Even when we said Black Lives Matter, I was amazed that there was a discussion, because the clarification looks like this: Black Lives Matter too, TOO, which means also. It did not mean that no other lives matter. You guys, we're not all Black militants. We're not all Black militants, but we're Black. And the trauma that has been associated with over years of hangings and lynchings, current and past years. You want to know something? Sit with us, because we can tell you stories about our fathers and our mothers and our grandfathers, not even going back to Africa, right here in America, placed in a system that was supposed to be designed to protect us, you guys. Trauma happens. We are still living with the after effects of trauma right now. And you think about trauma in this aspect. You think things are supposed to make sense. They don't make sense. It doesn't make sense that my husband, who is teaching my older children, has to almost daily encourage them to get back on track. Daily, it takes him an hour and a half, 2 hours for him to just, come on, you can do it, you can do it. And for them to focus and to come. Daily, we deal with lies. Daily. I didn't want this to be long, so I'm going to say this. What's happened for us is that we didn't, you don't have a grid. We learn about trauma, but until children come and sit with you, listen to this, because we're talking reconciliation and race relations and unity, you guys, and unity of the faith. The way of resolve is this. It's the model that we have. It is that we take someone who is unlike ourselves and we bring them into a safe place. And we may have to go through some things as we sit with them. I still, as the Apostle Paul says, I still bear the marks of Jesus Christ through those children in my body. What am I talking? I have scratch marks, bite marks. I had nosebleeds. I had blackened eyes. I was touched myself. And I didn't even know it, because I'm just as naive as anything. I didn't even know. We were looked upon sexually. We were handled inappropriately. We had one little girl who would hit my husband every day for a year. We had another boy that every time he knew my husband was hurting somewhere, if he was spraining his ankle playing basketball, he'd hit it. There's no understanding when someone's been traumatized. But let me tell you about our three amigos. And they know I've shared this story because they've been overcomers. They're now loving children. You talk about systemic junk. They weren't given proper education. They weren't given proper food. They weren't handled with the love of God. What am I saying? They were not handled without prejudice. You want to make America great again? Come and sit with us. Because you can't understand. I promise you, I had no grid for trauma. Come and sit with us. Come and share bread with us. Hold our hands when we want to bump our heads against the wall. Come and say, you don't have to loot because I'm with you. Because even when we told our children, you don't have to steal, we're going to feed you, they still stole. So there's no grid for trauma unless you sit with them and you begin to understand their hearts. And my daughter said, Mom, you don't understand what's happened to me. And I said, I do not understand. But I can't stay here with you. You have to come with me to a better place. A place where there's healing. A place where there is hope and forgiveness of all those who have harmed you. So as we go and we're commanded to walk, to be reconciled with our brothers, and it's not, all of us are not looting, all of us are not criminals. You know, another phenomenon with those who've been traumatized and adopted and fostered, they never feel like they're good enough. My heart hurts because some kind of way we don't feel like we're good enough. And do not think that I'm a victim. Please do not. Most of the time, people don't feel like they're good enough. And so they act out. You guys, we've come to a place where we try to get educated. We can't go into Harvard, into Yale, to A&M without prejudice. Doctors are being profiled. Black doctors are profiled. Black nurses, black attorneys. Like, are we never going to be good enough? Because with my children, I preach it to them every day. That God has a plan and He has a purpose for your life. And one thing, I'm going to tell you something. We shut our mouths to talk about them and to talk down to them because we've got to understand. They haven't even told us the gamut of the stories. But trauma is real. It's real. And there has been a level of trauma. And I'm telling you this. If anyone looked at that and you did not experience something in your hearts, please allow the Lord to check those hearts, because trauma, the fruit of that looks like rioting, and rioting looks like, I can't control this, so I'm going to control this. I can't do this, so I'm going to do this. I'm tired of seeing the black men killed, so I'm going to go and kill somebody. It doesn't make any sense. But please hear me. The way my children have begun to be healed and to be changed and to be transformed is not us agreeing with the trauma. It happened. It is the truth. It is their reality, but it's not the truth of who they can be. So what have we done? I don't work. I'm here with them every day because I want them to know safety, security. I want them to know a mother's love, and it's been some things that have been stripped away from them. Trauma has happened because they had to leave their place of origin and come into a place that was supposed to have protected them, and in many cases it has not. Think about the parable of trauma and rioting. America is supposed to be great for us all. Hispanics, whites, blacks, Asians, mixed race people, French, American Indians, for all of us. You want to make America great again, you got to come out of your places, because America can only be as great as the least of those. I'm going to tell you something, I'm done. But I confess to you, I didn't understand the level of trauma. And I didn't understand being beaten up and hit. And can I tell you something? The kids tore up our rooms. They tore up furniture. holes in the walls of the place that they love. They've jumped out of a moving car and ran as far as they could go. Trauma is real, but Jesus is realer. And I'm going to say this. How do we win this war with race? Everybody must lay down their lives. Jesus said it best. There's no greater love than to lay down your life for a friend. The way these children with so much severe trauma have overcome and are overcoming is because we've dared to invite them in to the house of God. And my gosh, I wish I could just tell you all the stories, all the children. You want to hear trauma? We had a 6-year-old girl who had never seen a banana. America's not great. We had a girl, another 6-year-old girl who had never gone to a movie theater. Make America great. Go and grab hands with those who are apparently not good enough and make us and make them. Encourage us. Encourage them that we're in this together. To make America great is that each man lays down himself and allows another to be lifted up over him. There's no greater love. That's what the real definition of great means. To make America great. I'm going to close with this. My moniker is Serial Mama. It's a play on words. Serial means doing something over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I knew that because of the sheer numbers, 13 children. But I knew serial meant I had to do things over and over. But listen to this. I had to forgive over and over and over again. I had to endure being slapped and spat upon without spitting back. I had to endure headbutts without headbutting back. There are many, many things that we've endured in this private place. Tell you what it looks like. Serial love. That for 2.5 years straight, those children were not even able to go outside of the house because of the trauma. And so about the 2.5 year mark is when we were able to live. So yeah, that's correct. So guess what we did? We sat with them in the house, I went into children's church with them and sat with them. I went wherever we needed, but it was about 2.5 years before we could even go outside of the house with a group of children. And we did it. And we did, please hear me, we did not murmur. We did not complain. We counted a privilege to give those who have been called the least of them an opportunity for transformation, an opportunity, ready for this, just to read and write and to believe and to feel true and real love. They're not without their struggles, but we have to do things over. We're teaching 100,000 times. We have to say the same things over and over again. Literally, over the course of the last 9 years, hundreds and hundreds and I can't even imagine how many times that we have calculated. We have calculated the bruising. We have calculated the abuse. We have calculated the lies, the stealing. But that's what serial mom means. We do it over and over, and we do it with Jesus' joy. And we do it because we expect transformation. Here's the end. One of the boys came up to us, I don't know, maybe about 4 years ago. Here's what it looks like. And he said, "Mom, I'm no longer angry." If you miss that, you missed this whole parable. He understood something, and we just like, oh my God. He realized the anger that he could not control was now under the control of his Lord and of his God, and even more so, he could control the rage, because he was one that was full of rage. He said, "Mom, I'm no longer angry." And that's how America will look great. Because I promise you, if you come and stand beside us, you know, one of the things I said, you can't understand, but please act like you recognize. And you may have to recognize us over and over again until the spirit of trauma is broken off of our lives that was sustained hundreds of years ago. Please, please, I want to hear people say, "I'm no longer angry." And that's truly what the reconciliation process looks like. That is truly the heart of God. The Bible says, "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord." And so please listen to it. I pray that this was clear. I pray that you could understand the relationship between trauma and rioting. And it doesn't justify it, but I do recognize the significance of many people who have no other way to express themselves. I understand the significance of why. To understand, you guys, is not to justify, but please recognize that we have a problem. Let us make America great again by loving one another and laying down your lives. I bless you. I bless you. This is my confession. I am a serial mom, and I'll do it again over